Folks, how you doing? This is C.W. Johnson Jr. here, and I'm going to be doing something I don't usually do on my channel, a movie review. This will be a movie review of the recent film Devotion, based on the book by Adam Makos. It came out in theaters Thanksgiving weekend. I went and saw it that weekend, and I've been giving it some thoughts about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. And I'm got to say it's probably one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. It's one of the few films I've seen in a while, especially in the theaters, that felt like real cinema. Didn't like a lot of movies that feel like sort of a low budget guide to camera placement, like put a camera up here, long shot, establishing shot, long shot, up close, close zoom. It just feels like they're going through all the motions of setting up a scene with all the different shots, not really putting thoughts into the storytelling aspect and the emotional aspect of why they have to have those shots. But Devotion is not like that. I feel like every shot had a lot of detail, a lot of thought put into the directors and cinematographers put a lot of thought in planning and storytelling into planning their thoughts and their shots. So there's a lot of movies that feel like there's a camera being moved around in a room. Other movies, especially a lot of the big superhero movies, the tentpole movies, they just feel like they're just throwing whatever they can at the wall to see what will stick, and they're not putting a lot of effort into it because they have all the big budgets and big explosions and all that. And they're like, because Martin Scorsese said, they're not bad movies, they're just not cinema. They are roller coaster rides. They're comic strips, comic books compared to actual artwork. They're artwork, they're good artwork, but they're not Charles Dickens or Monet. So we have right now in the industry, it seems like there's a lot of movies that are either, low budget exercise and camera placement, or big budget, which just throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. In Devotion, it felt like everything was well thought out, well planned. Every shot had a story, an emotion behind it. Like there's a channel called Every Shot a Painting, I think it's called. And I really felt that watching the movie. Like even the opening sequence of just a montage of the airplane was something I hadn't seen in a long time. And it's like a lot of movies, they begin, with the establishing shot, the character walking in, or an action, the explosion. This began with, establishing the airplane and establishing an emotion, and not introduction to character or a theme. It was some really well-crafted montage of an airplane. Something we hadn't seen for a while. I really feel like it kicked back to the early 90s, the 80s, that kind of cinema. And it was gorgeous, especially because they used real planes, which is a very great plus in these day and age, which everybody wants to use CGI. And there's a place for CGI. Peter Jackson used it well in Lord of the Rings. And but sometimes, you can't just replace good old natural lighting, good old actual sets and actual airplanes and actual 100 extras in the background there. There's something to that captures the human, makes the human soul soar, and captures human emotion and puts you in the story that CGI does not. So that's one thing the movie had going for it, which was great. The acting was great. Gwen Powell, Jonathan Majors, they all did a great job. I could tell that J.D. Dillard did a great job of, letting them carry the scenes, of letting them have their Their presence established the scene. He gave them time to work out their character and let them bounce off each other and let their presence be established. So they did a great job with that, the supporting actors too. And but there were some scenes in there which they only saw it for one angle, it seemed like, because the actors, their presence, their skill, their ability, and their willingness to chemistry with each other, willingness to work and bounce off of each other, was telling the story and carrying the scene. There was no reason for all the fancy editing and fancy angles and all that. It was just, actors acting, which makes a great movie. Story was great. As you know, I've done a blog post about it. I've done a short pitch about why Tom and Jesse, their friendship deserved to be a great movie. And of course, plug, there's my short pitch right there, and I'll put the link to my blog post below. And this is like the first movie book I've done, or a review of, that became a major movie. I think, there was The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. That was a Netflix adaptation. I did a video about Harper's Ferry, but I don't think The Good Lord Bird was more like a comic book satire of John Brown, so that doesn't really count. I did a video about the River of Doubt when Theodore Roosevelt was in the Amazon. I don't know, I'm off course right here, but and that's on like one of the HBO channels did a mini series called Our American Guest about Theodore Roosevelt and the Amazon. I've not yet gotten the seeds of that one, or the Good Lord Bird. I've seen The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind on Netflix, and that was a great movie. Maybe one day I'll do a review of that after I go back and reread the book. Because it's been a few years since between me reading the book and watching the movie. So, if you have not seen Devotion, I suggest you go see it right now. Stop watching this video, go see it. Because I think Hollywood needs to send Hollywood the message that, we're tired of the reboots, we're tired of the remakes, the sequels, the franchises. We want original stories, we want good stories, we want powerful stories, human stories, stories about actual people, stories that honor our heroes, stories based on history, and stories that are beautifully told with great cinematography. Like, I bet you're going to hear Devotion and the sound cinematography and Devotion and directed, and probably score will also be nominated at the Oscars. And I hope to see them get nominated for a lot more awards come up this award season, because they definitely deserve it. So if you have not yet seen Devotion, go see it right now. Stop watching this video. I'll give you a couple moments to do that. Beautiful evening out here in Northwest Louisiana. So are you going? Or are you still here? I see you back there. Yeah, you? Oh yeah, you. You haven't seen Devotion yet. Yep. Okay, go. Get out of here. Go watch it. Okay. Now, hey. Okay, you're going. Good. Okay, so here's what I didn't like about the movie, and it's not so much about the movie, but about it as I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying as its adaptation of Mr. Makos' work, there are a few problems I had with it. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying the director made choices that I would have not made. The writers as well made choices that I would have not made if I had been the director or the writer adapting the book Devotion. It's like, I like the Dutch masters, Rembrandt and Vermeer, more than I like Van Gogh and Monet. That doesn't mean I don't think Van Gogh and Monet are bad painters. They're not. I just prefer Rembrandt and Vermeer and Norman Rockwell over them. So here's some of the stuff I should have brought some water with me on this walk. Here's some of the stuff I didn't like about it. It was a bit long. I think it dragged a little when they were in France with Elizabeth Taylor and the Canaan scenes when they're walking around the French town there at Cannes or Cannes. I think that dragged a little. I never did like check my watch. Like, I've seen movies that were shorter than Devotion. Excuse me, like even action movies and superhero movies would stop check my watch on how long was this movie. But I never did. I did like at one point. I like, this is a little long, but I didn't check my watch. I was still engaged with it. Now they showed Jesse Brown is kind of being annoyed all the time. And from what I read in Adam Makos' book, he had a sense of humor in which he could diffuse situations. And maybe the writers are trying to avoid the happy-go-lucky, jolly, juvenile, all smiles, Negro stereotype from back in the day. And I commend them for that. But I think it would have made his character more rounded. And I think Jonathan Majors really could have pulled it off, because you saw that when he met Alabama Ward. You saw like he could be a jolly guy and make jokes. Having the racist Marine in the day, the racist Marine on the ship. Jesse, he told the reporters he had not experienced any racism on the ship, the aircraft carrier. So I know what they're trying to do. J.D. Dillard and the writers are trying to build it up to when Tom Hudner is walking through the Marine camp base at Haggeree after losing Jesse, and he sees the racist Marine, and he's like, there's that exchange of eyes. Excuse me. I'll see what the director was trying to do there on the writers, but I thought it would have honored Jesse more, since Jesse said he wasn't experiencing racism on the aircraft carrier, to not have that happen, or not being so blatant. Like there was the time in the book where everybody was saying, let's go get tanned on the beach. I can't wait to be as black as and someone almost says the N-word, and Jesse just smiles and says, hey, you just go ahead and go to the beach. I already got a head start on you with my color. So I would like to have seen that, but they could have made that Marine character more than just the racist. I think maybe they could have showed him looking annoyed at Jesse getting that interview from the reporters. And then when they're at Cannes, however you say it, and they're gambling with Elizabeth Taylor, and Jesse comes up, and Elizabeth Taylor asks to be chosen from those two Marines, and she goes and gambles with Jesse. I think that could have been like Matt's point, and that's when all the racism from that Marine comes out, and we have a fight. And then, and as Jesse and the Marine are being dragged to the brig, then suddenly we get word that the Korean War has started, and they're being shipped to Korea. I think that would have made the racist Marine a little more two-dimensional, three-dimensional. I also think they should have had the interview with Jesse during the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir, because that would have explained why he was so annoyed with the interview, with people saying, must be hard being the first, Negro aviator and all that. He's like, he could have said something like, my fellow Americans are dying on the ground out here, and you're concerned about my skin color, something like that, because that's when it happened. The interview happened during the Korean War, while they're all flying out missions, covering the retreat of the Marines and the soldiers from Chosin Reservoir. And that famous picture of him on the flight deck looking out towards the horizon with a mission on his mind is him thinking about, man, my fellow Americans are being killed right now and I'm being interviewed. So I think the interview with the reporters should not have happened in the Mediterranean, but off the coast of North Korea. I would also like to have seen more action scenes with the airplane, more flight missions. I would have liked to have seen the part where Jesse has to obey the rules, because if he's too wild and isn't precise with dropping the bomb, he might kill some kids. And he's a father. He's a family man, and he doesn't want to kill kids. So he has to go against his rebellious nature and follow the rules and do precisely what he's told, so he doesn't kill those kids who are near the target that's being bombed. And I think that would have challenged his character, showed his growth and his character arcs, and it would have shown how he wasn't just the first African-American naval aviator. He was the best American Navy aviator. Yeah. Got my tongue twisted off with that one, didn't I? Anyway, I'd like to have seen that mission. I'd have also liked to have seen at least one airplane get shot down, and they fly over it, and they look down, they see the pilot's alive, but they get reminded that, rules are rules. You can't stop and get another pilot. Helicopter's going to come and get him. And you see Jesse get all upset about not being able to stop and help their friend. And Tom, remember, we have to follow the rules, because in Adam Makos' book, that was the big character arcs, the big change of growth for Tom Hudner's character, is he was going to break the rules to save Jesse, because we weren't allowed to land and pick up your fellow aviators. You leave that up to the helicopters. So I'd like to have seen that. I think that would have made it more powerful when he did land to save Jesse, or try to save Jesse. I'd like to have seen Jesse's wife's character arcs grow as well. See the moment of healing when she goes to the Medal of Honor ceremony, because she thought that Jesse Brown had been alone and had burned to death. Excuse me. And the director could have showed this. There was a point when she was getting on the airplane, and we have this stereotypical, old white man looking over at the black woman getting on the airplane. That could have been changed to somebody, reading a newspaper behind her on the airplane saying, isn't it too bad about that, Negro pilot burning up all alone on the ground in Korea. So when she goes to the Medal of Honor ceremony, instead of being in despair about, my husband died alone and burned to death alone with no one there to comfort him, and then, Tom says, I was there with him. Then she has her own Daisy. Daisy has her own moment of healing. And we see her character growth and see her forgive Tom, not resent him for getting the Medal of Honor. I'd also like to have seen at least one shot of Jesse's daughter, on the in their yard, waving at the airplanes as they fly over before they deploy. That would be a really heartbreaking scene, right after the news of Jesse's death comes through, and she's out in the yard and the plane flies over. Daddy! Because that's happened in the book. That would have been a really emotional, punchy in the gut moment there. But I know you can't, you have time restraints. You can't put everything in to a movie that you want to put in from a book. You have to focus on the theme of the story, the character arcs, and everything. I commend the directors and writers what they did perfectly. They did very well. And like one thing, if I'd written it, I would have had the powerful moment of the ship's captain reading, I think it was the Lord's Prayer or the Psalm, as we see the Viking funeral being given to Jesse in his airplane. And but however, the director decided instead to have Tom standing by himself on the flight deck as the planes take off on that mission. And it was representing loss and loneliness after having lost a good friend. And it's a very, very powerful shot. And I think J.D. Dillard and the writers and the actors, they made that choice and they did a great job with it. And you know, I can't think of any of my other complaints offhand that I would have about it. I just think it was an excellent movie. I really hope it becomes a sleeper hit. You know, I hope it does better than Avatar, Shape of Water. Honestly, I'm sorry James Cameron about that, but I hope it does better than your movie. I hope it does as well as any of the superhero movies out there. I hope it becomes a cult hit and raises awareness about the so-called forgotten war of Korea and helps us honor those who fought and died there. Maybe we can get more movies about the forgotten war made, and you know, anybody want to call me up and have me write a screenplay on some of them, you know, contact me. So great job to personal to the whole cast and crew. You know, thank you to the Hudner and Brown family for their service and sacrifice, and for letting the world hear their story of their loved ones. And just got to commend Jonathan Majors, Glenn Powell, the writers, the director J.D. Dillard did a great job. Felt like all the scenes are well set up, well edited together. A lot of great shots to set up the emotions of the scenes. A lot of great insert shots that you don't see in a lot of movies these days because everyone seems pressed for time. And I think it was a really great, awesome movie. And hope it continues. Hope it does really well during the rest of its theatrical run. Can't wait to get a DVD copy and stick it on myself. So thanks everyone for watching this video. You know, y'all have a great Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and God bless you and God bless America.